Maurizio Pochettino leaves Spurs. How do you all find out about that sort of thing?
Well, we found out through the club. The club told us, before it became public, and yeah, and then.
Did you get a farewell or anything with?
I saw him. Yeah, I saw him. I went to his house and saw him after I didn't see him at the training ground. I saw him at his house, and I had a probably like 3-4 hours with him, which was really nice, and obviously just disappointing that things ended in that way at that time, but yeah, that is football. Yeah.
And what's the one thing you carry from that period in your career playing under him? What was as you had that 3 or 4 hours in his company and you left, what was the thing you thought, you know what, this guy gave me this and I'm never gonna let it go?
Well, he gave me my chance in the Premier League. When I arrived at Tottenham, as I said, I was 20 and I had no idea like what situation I was going to come into really from an individual point of view. And I was there for 2 weeks and he played me. I played my debut against West Ham away, and I'd been there 2 weeks, which I didn't know how many games I was going to play in the first season. I didn't know like really what. I knew they wanted a young centre back, and that was their place I was there to fill. So yeah, he installed all his faith in me, and I think he did that over and over again with players. Where he didn't think at all about the. It was like if you were ready, you were ready, and it didn't matter the occasion. As I said, West Ham away, it was just off you go, and he was great like that, yeah.
So then in comes Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
As players, how much sort of knowledge do you have of who's coming in, or do you find out the same time as the rest of us?
None. Yeah, we just found out again through the club. The club tell us before it becomes public, and yeah. That's it really.
So Jose comes in, new era.
Yeah.
What does he do to set the tone with the players? How did he instill a new culture at that football club on day one?
Yeah, every man. I hate to compare managers when people ask me when a new manager comes or not, because every manager is different. Every manager comes with a different skill set, different ideas of the way they want things to be in the building, on the training field, around match day. So. It's all about, yeah. He came in with a real energy. I think he was really excited to be working again. I think he hadn't been working for a little while, so I think he was really excited to be working again. And yeah, he came in with a fantastic energy and was trying to just boost, I think, the confidence of all the players. Obviously, having gone through the period that we had at the time, and obviously it's Mourinho, so he comes with. He comes with a lot of charisma,
yeah,
and then like you just got to try and everyone starts from zero, and it's that thing about trying to find your feet under a new manager.
So as a kid that grew up in Portugal, when he first came to prominence at Porto before going on to Chelsea,
yeah.
Like that must have been quite exciting for you.
Yeah, that was very, very. Obviously, for me, it was exciting in that sense, because. Growing up, there's two people really in Portugal, that like godlike figures, so obviously he's one of them, and yeah, you never imagine that time's gonna work like that, like playing with Rooney for England, and I was at Euro 2004 in Portugal, and I won this. My sister won a competition with school, and we got to go and watch England train, and so Rooney's there playing. I got a picture of him afterwards. I don't know how old I was. I was really, really young, and you never imagine that time's going to work like that. That one day I got the chance to play with him, and then when I was a kid, Mourinho's manager. You never think time works where I'm going to end up being managed by him. So how do you make that
mental adjustment then of being like the kid having your photo with Rooney to then being a peer and telling him to run a bit harder or asking him to pass you the ball?
I never told him that. I never told him to pass the ball either. It was a lot better with him. No, it's those things just sort of, you just.
Do you think about them or not? Do you accept?
No, you just
you
you just sort of. it just is what it is in the moment. Like you start to build it up. You start to, I went to Tottenham, then I was playing with players that, I was like, oh wow, and then you're playing against players, and that sort of just builds up and up and up. So then, to play with him for England was incredible, and I'll never forget that, and just the way he was as well with like us young. There was a lot of young players at the time, and the way he treated us. I'll never forget like the way he treated us, and the way he'd sit next to you on the bus, or he'd come and sit with you at dinner, and really like looked after you, and that was something I'll never forget. Yeah.
So have you built processes or ways of coping when the pressure is great? I mean, a really good example would be taking the penalty for England, and you know, none of us need reminding of our history with penalties. You're standing there, you put the ball down on the spot.
Yeah.
Do you think about the country, the people watching, the history with penalties, the fact that it's all on you, that everyone's holding their breath, that this goal puts us into the next round? Like, what can you take us through the mental story when you knew you were taking that kick?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because Portugal knocked England out of penalties twice, and I used to get so much stick about it, at the academy, and but I felt Portuguese in that way, where like I felt like I have the Portuguese thing about taking penalties, like I grew up about it. I grew up with it at Sporting,
As in the confidence thing.
The confidence thing, like I feel like I had their confidence to take a penalty or do one of those things, because I was one of them in that scenario where we'd practice penalties loads and all that kind of stuff, and I was around them doing it. So there was that kind of aspect to it, and then I didn't really feel attached to like I didn't feel attached to England's penalty like disasters, well, not disasters, but penalty losses in the past. As a fan, I did.
Well, they were disasters. Don't worry about that.
I was devastated. I was like, as a kid, I was devastated. When England lost on penalties, and but in terms of like taking penalties and that kind of thing, I felt quite a bit detached from it.
You didn't feel the weight of that baggage or anything?
No, obviously there was a lot of pressure in that moment, but I think for me the biggest thing is practice, and I practice them so much, and I always do. Like Harry always practices them the day before a game, and I'll always take a few. I know I'm not taking them tomorrow, but so I'll consistently do it, and then just my biggest thing is practice and training. So like if you practicing something enough that you feel comfortable to then do it, and leading up to the World Cup, we practiced them loads, and I was always practicing them all the time, and Popey at Burnley, he was the keeper, and he's someone that like would never get any credit, but he would like stay out there and say penalty after penalty, and I was always practicing to my bottom left, and he knew I was always going there, so it was like this challenge to try and score, because you had to hit like a great penalty, which I really didn't do in the penalty shootout, but you had to hit like a great one to score, because he knew it was going there as well. So it was all about for me, it was all about practicing, and then when it came to the penalty, I was terrified when I was standing there waiting, because I knew it was coming to me. I was absolutely terrified.
So what did you do to manage that then? That
Nothing. It completely overtook me. I was just thinking. Two things happened. They missed before me, and it became the penalty to win instead of the penalty to stay in.
And were you all right with that, or did you think,
oh, that felt so much better?
Did it?
Because if I missed, we kept on going with the penalties, and then I spoke about this with Harry as well, because I think he can say better than me, but I think he experienced something similar where when I got there to take it, I was actually just really, really calm and like I was convinced I was going to score. I could have missed because it was bad. It was actually a bad penalty, but I was really calm in that moment, and I just it was just like an
Okay, so you've
enjoyable
gone
one.
from being terrified to then stepping up and putting the ball down and being calm.
Yeah.
What changed apart from like you now
I
playing?
think just
not
that
to lose?
practice and routine. Like once I just got into like the routine of what I had to take a penalty. You know, like I just put it down to like the steps I wanted back, and I was just in that moment, and it was to win it.
So was it Pochettino's advice of don't think, just do in that moment? And
yeah, but I think with enough practice that just exists. You know, where you're not thinking. If you do something over and over and over again, it just becomes second nature to you. And when I stood up to take it, the fact that it was to win it instead of thing did change everything for me in that moment. And I just thought, it's great opportunity. It was a great moment for us in that tournament. And it was probably like that thing that really everyone was kind of fearful of, and to go get through it was amazing.